However, we can assume that Linny and Lynette were not alone within it. Some criminal also occupied its sealed confines. The magician twins could have committed the crimes, of course, but they lack any logical motive.
Exactly! Why would they do such a thing right when everyone was watching?
The flower vase and the thud we heard during the performance could indicate some altercation between Halsey and the criminal in the tunnel, resulting in the shattering of the vase, the discarding of her clothes, and perhaps the criminal thought that since she was chosen from the crowd, she would be too easy to identify if she was still wearing the same clothes.
Paimon thinks that makes sense, but the real...
True. None of the clues we found thus far support the existence, but the only people left to consider are both technically victims. Whether it's the missing girl,
Could Halsey have secretly made modifications to the magic props in order to murder Cowell before making her escape?
That's right. And even if she had tampered with the setup, she would need to understand the entire trick to pull it off. Nor does she have any motive. The guard said that she has never had any dealings with the magic troupe.
Were we not thorough enough in our... From the sound of things, this is turning into an impossible case. Your macarons are amazing, though, Navia. They smell great! They're nice.
They are my specialty, after all. And I see you've already had 5 of them.
What? 5? Oh...
Please don't worry about it. At my age, a few less...
No. Being greedy is one thing. Besides, Paimon knows that if she ate too many, then others wouldn't have enough. Wait, even you don't believe Paimon? If Paimon ate those 2 extra macarons, then may they turn into stone in her
All right, we get it. Well, I suppose one of us might have gotten too engrossed in our chat and eaten them by mistake. Nope, Malus, set up the stove again if you...
Huh?
Making sure everyone gets 3 macarons, of course?
Exactly. We don't want to trouble...
As you wish, demoiselle.
And I have the egg, sugar, and...
Well, this really...
Well, that's it for snack time. I'm going to... I don't know what we're looking for yet, but it would be awkward if you got all tongue-tied on...
All right, thanks for your help.
It was nothing. A small task for the Spina di Rosula. Silver, Malus, it's time to go. I'll be back if I find anything new.
All right, it's time to put our heads together. We've got to get our defense ready for the trial. Oh, it's probably gonna be a long and difficult case. There's no point in worrying about that now. We just need to prepare. Here, take Paimon's notes. They should help you review the situation. Whoever the murderer was, they must have made preparations well beforehand. This rope was obviously tampered with. People needed to register and reserve a seat for the show. That, combined with... Why would it be him? Gosh... No wonder the serial disappearances never got solved. We all heard that noise, didn't we? That size wouldn't have been a problem for Paimon. This is probably a prop, too. Oh, looks like it could hook onto a lot of things. Like the Traveler's fishing rod! This flower vase is probably a prop for the show. But it also could... Paimon doesn't get this at all. You think about it for a bit. Digging a tunnel just for a magic trick? There was no third person. And Paimon didn't eat more than 3 macarons either. And that's why only the 2 of them can perform this trick. Well, there was no chance Paimon could have seen that the box had 2 layers. The performance would not have been visible from where the doors were guarded. Do? The whole situation is so confusing. Good plan. Impossible things.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia.
Best of luck to you.
Ah, finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
To be honest, you might.
No. We're already very grateful that you.
Well, now, don't you all look disappointed? That was to be expected, of course. The guilty, but don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident.
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage.
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the...
Yes, that's correct.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution.
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and...
That is simply your hypothesis based on the...
Oh, is that so? And if I'm...
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or...
Huh?
Hey, hang on.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud.
I was right by the box and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those...
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
No wonder they did something like.
So the serial disappearances were the
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just...
That's irrelevant. Our identities have...
Indeed. Then perhaps you could... Your first priority is to prove yourself in... The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last...
Hey, Linny, why didn't you tell...
Order! Order! First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Are these claims true? Please answer my question.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to.
What should we do now?
Granted. In that case, what is your request?
Is that really necessary?
The defendant deceived their own attorneys.
Order! Oh! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even in that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy...
Well, this is awkward. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Paimon doesn't know where to start. We based our entire reasoning on this, not to set the wrong tone or anything.
I'm very sorry. I know you've clashed with the Vatui several times before. I wouldn't be but our organization is very, very large, and
Right now, we want to save people.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you. But the truth is very important, but being completely transparent about. Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster, but still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least.
Sorry. Well, you both say that, but... Right, let's hear you.
Of course. I'll answer any. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know. During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick with the
Is that why you needed a whole
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to invest.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Well, nothing. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the way back. I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished. After that, the homicide occurred.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can.
That's the only way we can.
So, there you have it. The whole. It was never my wish to proceed under this. But like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Okay.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna... Huh?
Both parties have returned to their positions. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may...
That at this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective. As the countdown began, he entered when the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altar. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by... Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clip. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, so Linney proceeded to knock him out. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands. Before And there you have it. That's the truth.
Does the defendant's side have any objection?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events. What According to Linny, he... Linny went to the room... Linny did not take part in the underground...
When the countdown started, but he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground... Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt the crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order... Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when... Paimon did it!
In other words, you believe that...
That's right!
My reasoning?
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the... Assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case.
Oh, they have a point.
That's right, you tell him!
Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give... Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole... You're saying that he wasn't?
Are you sure we don't need to give this more thought? That's right! Linny wasn't in the box. This means that when the crime happened, the same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become...
Well, to think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Could there have been a third person involved? The deceased's name is Cowell.
Huh? That can't be... the killer one!
Oh, is that...
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. The sound we heard may have come from... It would have been tough for both people to fit. Linny was not in the tunnel at... No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrance. The sound we heard may have come from a clash. It would have been tough for both people to fit into... Halsey's clothing was a... The deceased's name is Cowell. No one entered or left the... Halsey's clothing was in the... The sound we heard may have come... The sound we heard may have come... It would have been tough for both people... Halsey's clothing was in the...
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having...
I see.
Look, since we're at a dead end, just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must...
If only we knew how Halsey...
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a
Excuse.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a clash. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny. The vase was not broken by chance.
Oh, Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped. Lynette escaped from the... If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into...
Just how could a person ever be transformed into water? This... Must we... Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's
Even so, the truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt...
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, guards, please step into the lounge and examine...
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are
The primordial sea.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact...
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into...
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but...
If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowell was Wait just a minute. Could that mean...
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just...
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the guards. Please continue, Mr. Linney. It appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence.
Of course. Thank you. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this cases...
Right! Like the metal hook! Let's think about this. methods must have something to do with that water from the
The deceased's name is Cow. Now it seems like the hook rope was not. The water from the primordial sea should. The rope that strung the water. Lynette was in the magic box on. I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that.
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowl would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowl would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I...
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who...
On that note, the guards have just contacted me. I shall now invite him on stage.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just and we found an identical sample of the water from...
What?
That can't be. Does this not clear? My dear citizens, Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowl then... But upon his return, in cruel avarice, Linny desired sole credit and prepared to do away with it. Ultimately, he knocked Now, as much as I regret having... Am I right?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. Is this the end?
Oh no! Seems using the water as new evidence was too good.
I think we've all seen enough now. I believe this is indeed the... Now then, my good, noble...
Excuse me, everyone!
Miss, I must ask you...
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason. I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared. What in...
No offense, miss, but miracles...
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, but once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth? And wouldn't such a trick be the most Come on, Linny and Lynette. Give it another go. Don't worry. But as the magic makers and stars of the show...
I understand.
And voila.
Sorry.
Wait, isn't that Halsey?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my... I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it...
That'll teach you to underestimate...
Where should I begin? Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian. and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but that's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And I'd never been caught before, but I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and
Hey! No wonder you look familiar! Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and there was nowhere to run from there, though. So I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance costs. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding.
Can a person even hide in there?
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
This time, we need to tell the The strange sound. The flower vase was not broken. Lillian was a...
And it's Ace-Detect! Having been selected, her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that he did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief, mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume trunk She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So,
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses.
At this point, all the events that happened in the tunnel have...
So bravo!
Now then, Lady Farina. Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also,
What? Are you reading my... No. I have no further...
Wow! Look at that!
if there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of the actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim with some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-select to cover up any evidence while committing the deed. Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian, thinking that the waters had not yet. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the... From this reconstruction of events,
Hooray, Linny and Lynette!
While there is much in Linny and Lilian's conduct that should still be investigated, this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make. As such, Linny and Lynette.
Great work, partner.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Next, I think we deserve. How did you find the water from the prime?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know.
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in I'm sure you know what you must do to.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself.
I was just following. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the...
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, therefore you would be wise to tell everything you know.
Yes! Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration. We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent more off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the boss.
And now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
So, we're just going back now? That's...
Traveler, Paimon! Please wait.
Linny...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now, but still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you learned, I guess. But I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the...
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, would you mind, back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days to figure out how he pulled off his amazing tricks. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first, too. As if fate was on our side and we could say, but I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic tricks. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social circles.
That doesn't seem too bad either.
It took a while. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not on the same return vehicle as me. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. The answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over.
Oh no. But wouldn't Fontaine's law...
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care, and they have their ways of escape. I managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person, and hurried through the night. All I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood.
So, she'd already taken...
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden. Father, the Knave, might have seen something in me. The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. Indeed, betrayal shall never be permitted here. I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, I had just been betrayed by but she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fontaine.
So, she believes—
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy. All of us house members here, Lady Arlecchino herself included, are from Fontaine. To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart—
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a Gnosis, everything is aimed at dealing with that prophecy.
It's all right. I understand. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the House, I have never stopped. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me.
Bye, Linny!
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappearances case, though. Don't you— Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Besides, are you sure we're the ones who've been cracked? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there should be a trail of breadcrumbs for the Hydro Archon's people.
Ah, I see. Well, I won't lie. Sorry. I might have been—
Don't say that.
Ah, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire, causing new hope to spring forth, and the reflection in the murk to become— Sorry about that. Wait, shall we have a farewell meal?
Huh? Do we really need—
Well, I'd just like to have a proper ending to every Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take—
You don't have to twist Paimon's arm. If Boss knows—
Oh, wonderful. In that case, why don't we return to the court—
All right, then. Let's have our